Thanks to our friend who supported the channel financially in the previous video. And before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel financially. Having parted with Yamti, Ryu quickly moved on, and he said, "I've already completed one subquest, and I have 9 hours left to complete 9 more, and first stop is here." Then Ryu entered an alley where street vendors gathered and said, "I came to buy some stuff." The man inquired, "Welcome, what would you like?" Ryu said, "Everything from here to here, give them all." The man was shocked. In fact, the second subquest was flexing at the street stall, and for subquests, the quicker, the better, and the fastest were making offerings at the temple and sweeping up goods from street vendors. Ryu said, "Besides these two, other quests take at least 30 minutes to finish." After buying the items, Ryu sought out the fastest available quest at a mercenary band. The desk attendant said, "Welcome, what brings you to the Golden Eagle Mercenaries?" Ryu said, "I'd like to take on a subjugation mission." The desk attendant looked at Ryu and cheerily said, "Oh, I see you're a skilled mercenary. We happen to have a suitable subjugation mission for you." At that moment, a message appeared in front of Ryu. "Touch the monster you want to subjugate. 1. Lizardman. 2. Werewolf. 3. Skeleton. 4. Sandworm. To cancel, indicate refusal." Ryu chose the strongest, the sandworm, and he said to himself, "The subjugation times are all similar, so might as well earn some experience points by taking down the toughest one." After being told to wait a minute, the doors of the mercenary band opened, and a group approached Ryu Min, and one said, "Are you the Black Scythe? Nice to meet you. I'm Hawk Berman, the third subjugation team leader of the Golden Eagle Mercenaries. Shall we depart immediately?" Ryu said, "Of course." After some time, they arrived at a desert where sandworms periodically appeared, and a message appeared in front of Ryu, plus condition: subjugate 100 sandworms, plus currently subjugated sandworms, 0 out of 100. Seeing the message, Ryu chuckled and said, "For others, this quest might take 2 hours, but for me, it would take less than 30 minutes. Then Ryu followed the members' subjugation team. All were NPCs, and none seemed interested in talking to Ryu. And Ryu said to himself, "I don't need to worry about them stealing my share, as the skills of the mercenaries present were nothing special. And if they were players, they'd be around level 30, just managing to kill a sandworm together." Ryu added, "In essence, the NPCs are just there to distract the monster, and the real task of killing it falls to the challenger, the player." Well, Ryu didn't need them to distract the monster. Then a mercenary shouted as something wriggling emerged from beneath the sand, and said, "There it is!" Though not visible, Ryu had already sensed it through his detection skills. It was a sandworm. As he was about to draw his scythe, Ryu put it back into his inventory and said to himself, "Shall I test the rune I acquired?" In fact, the rune of lightning hadn't been used yet, and he was curious about its effects, and he needed to get a feel for it to use it effectively later. Then sparks flew from Ryu's hand, and he said, "So this is the sensation. Lightning magic isn't the best against sandworms, considering their earth attribute, but will it be enough?" In fact, magic was a powerful tool, but each type had its own attribute compatibility, and moving under the sand, the earth-attributed sandworm would have the damage from electric lightning attributed magic. In simpler terms, the damage would be reduced by half, but damage will still be inflicted since Ryu's intelligence stat is high. As the sandworm emerged, showing its giant, old tree-like size, Ryu acted, and the lightning from the tip of Ryu's finger struck the sandworm directly, and the creature anticlimactically turned into a grilled worm. The sandworm died in one hit, charred black, leaving the mercenaries speechless. Then one said, "To kill that terrifying sandworm in one hit, impressive indeed. Are you a mage?" Another said, "Truly, a great mage has joined our subjugation team." Despite the praises pouring in from all sides, Ryu didn't respond. He was slightly taken aback himself, and he said to himself, "Given my high intelligence, I expected some effect, but to kill it in one hit was something else, and the damage was so overwhelming that it disregarded any attribute compatibility." Ryu added, "If anyone questions how I fight as a prophet, I'll just show them this." After that, Ryu was able to complete all 3 within the minimum time of 30 minutes. It was the result of using the rune of lightning. Though, even with a scythe, He could have completed them within 30 minutes. However, Ryu used only the rune of lightning throughout the subjugations. He hadn't even drawn his scythe. It was part of getting used to the rune's capabilities, but it's more convenient this way, as standing still and casting magic was definitely easier than running around with a scythe. It was easier to kill as they died with one hit. Possibly due to the common skill of dexterity, hitting the target wasn't too difficult. Then Ryu said, "Fire, charge, area blast, amplify, I think I've tried everything." Of course, he hadn't dared to use self-destruction, because the damage was too high and a mistake could cost him his life. Ryu added, "I should only use self-destruction as a last resort. I'm not sure if I'll ever need it, though." In fact, being a mage certainly had its conveniences with many area skills, but it wasn't without downsides, as when all the cooldowns are active, there's nothing to do. With using the Rune of Lightning, Ryu discovered that each ability had a cooldown, and he said, the shortest was fire at 6 seconds. But in a battlefield where lives were at stake, a 6-second gap was a significant penalty. That's why magic-using professions manage their skills and cooldowns so carefully. But as a hybrid, Ryu wasn't too worried. If he ran out of magic to cast, he could always resort to using his scythe. Then the system messages appeared. Subjugation completed. Your actions have been recorded by the Mercenary band. Your Mercenary band grade has risen from skilled to professional. Having successfully completed consecutive subjugations, Ryu's rank in the Mercenary band had increased. Then Ryu smiled and said, "I'll be able to take on tougher missions next time." Leaving the Mercenary band, Ryu checked the time as he moved. It looked like he could comfortably finish 10 subquests. 10 hours. It was a long time, but as he completed quests, it flew by unnoticed. One player said, "Ah, no, there's not much time left." Another said, "Ha! I need to complete at least one more." The players shouting suddenly noticed the change and looked up. Before they knew it, they were back in the space where they started. Then the angel appeared and said, "Human beings, this is Nell. Did you all manage to complete your quests well? Now." One player said, "Angel, I was just about to finish a mission. If I had just 10 more seconds, I would have completed it. Can you count it as a success?" Nell's gaze turned chilling, causing the player to shut his mouth, and she shouted, "Such an insufferable human. How dare a lowly human interrupt an angel? And when did I say you could ask questions? Are you begging to be killed?" The player trembled with fear and stammered, I'm sorry," the angel shouted. "Don't even answer. I don't want to hear it." It was obvious that the angel was angrier than usual. Then the angel added, "We should be showing the tally results, but before that, I have a question for all of you. Is there anyone here who has received an oracle?" The reason for Nell's bad mood was clear. The upheaval in the heavenly realms due to the death of the archangel's Remiel was the cause. Confused by the angel's question, the players looked perplexed. They had no idea what the question meant, and it was their first time hearing about the possibility of receiving an oracle. And they inquired, "Oracle? What are you talking about?" The angel said, "Never mind then. Forget I asked." Although the angel retracted the question as if it was asked in vain, Ryu was certain about something after seeing its reaction, and he said to himself, "It seems they also don't know who killed Remiel, or rather they might be thinking that Remiel is missing, not dead. After all, no bodies of Remiel or any other angels were found. But they must know it was the work of a player. In fact, sending distress signals and mobilizing several angels must have at least spread the word that a player had attacked one of them. They just don't know who exactly. And since the combat angels were deployed at the altar, that's why she asked." Then Ryu smirked and said to himself, "To ask so directly, did they think the culprit would just raise their hand and confess?" It was a foolish question, but the angel probably had its suspicions. To confront a combat angel, the player must possess significant power, and the most likely suspect was none other than Black Scythe. Sure enough, the angel's gaze, flickering towards this direction, was palpable. But the angel also was too afraid to look outright. Then Ryu smiled and said to himself, "Well, a player who slaughters angels must be frightening." In fact, the angels always belittle them as mere bugs, but these were the lowest of the low 9th rank angels. Minus the ability of Sishal, they're as fragile as humans. And the angels knew this too. Hence, they didn't descend from the heavens and maintained their distance, because deep down, they feared the players. Ryu added, "They might suspect, But there's no evidence that I'm the culprit. They can't even imagine that one of the mighty archangels could be dead. But I've got nothing to worry about. As long as there's no evidence, I won't suffer any harm. It was the same in previous regressions. Ryu called the combat angels through the oracle and killed them, but suffered no repercussions, because there was no evidence. And without solid evidence, they couldn't act, as the angels have a rule against meddling with players without a reason. Then Ryo said, initially, they used that skill to intimidate them, but afterwards there must be a valid reason to use Sishal, as it would ruin the game their masters created. So Ryu was relieved. He might be suspected, but they can't just harm him on a whim. Ryu added, the problem is, after receiving the devil's blessing and the soul-binding quest, I need to keep killing angels. So, I'll have to be more careful from now on. When Ryu turned his gaze, the angel hastily averted its eyes and stuttered, don't forget to like and subscribe.